Hey everyone, welcome back to Google Workspace Recap, your number one source for everything Workspace by the tabGeeks Network. My name is Jesse Nolan, my co-host is Steve Larson, and we're here to help you keep up. We had an excellent event with Leah and Saj from the Google ChromeOS Administrator Certification team, and they shared a ton of information on preparing for and passing the certification exam. I took the live feed and edited it into the full quality version for all of you, and it is currently available on our YouTube channel right now, so go and check it out. Steve over there with special guest over his shoulder, Ron Swanson. How's it going?
Good. I didn't know if that was like the jitterness from our the poor connection.
No, that was.
Had, or if that was,
I just got stuck.
Real. It seemed like,
I got stuck and just kept going with it.
Surreal.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Ron
is joining us tonight. So cheers, Ron. Can I cheers him somehow? Cheers.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, Ron's joining me tonight, having a little drink, and yeah, having a good time. A lot of stuff happened this week in Workspace, and I actually met up with a listener today, and they were like, I listened to it from the very first episode. I've been listening every week, and great to hear that we've got a lot of dedicated listeners out there. So,
oh baby,
good to hear that. Yeah,
but
interesting news this week in the Google Workspace world. Pricing changes are coming.
Bum, bum, bum.
Not something we like to see too often, or like to see happen at all. But not really too many changes. There's not really too many pricing changes. I mean, there's a small minor change in the enterprise standard pricing, which I think is a good thing. It kind of differentiates enterprise standard to business plus, because before it was like $2 different, and just like didn't make sense to choose enterprise or business plus. It's just like go to enterprise standard and pay the $2 extra and get all these features. So it kind of differentiates those two now a little bit better. And other than that, customers that are on commits, they don't see any pricing changes. It's really only customers that are on flexible pricing. So if you are gonna, make a commitment on Google Workspace, now's the time. Lock you into those lower prices. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail though in a second. There of course has been a good amount of updates this week. We saw 6 updates coming out in the blog posts during the week, and then we saw 2 more in the end of week recap post. So what we've seen this week in the silent releases is that there's now 360-degree video backgrounds available for Google Meet on mobile. You can also edit the widgets. Editable widgets are now available in chat app cards. And then in terms of the published releases, we saw that there are some new settings for content managers to modify shared drives are going to be on now by default. And an interesting link in that update, which I'll talk more about when we get into it. Something I haven't seen ever, I think, in a Google update post. And I'll let you think about that one for a second. Next one is that the client-side, the client-side encryption for Google Calendar is now generally available. There's some improved accessibility for the Connect device feature in Google Meet hardware devices. Google Calendar and Assistant Reminders are going to be migrating over to Google Tasks very soon. And Jesse, I know that's Google Tasks and all that stuff is a hot topic for you. So interested to hear your thoughts on that one. Some improved Google Contact Management experience, which is really cool. I like that because I do use it a lot, and nice to see the improvement there. There's also the ability to now control the visibility of warning banners in Gmail with a new admin control. This is actually something that, I don't think if I asked this question, if someone else had asked the question, but Google Next 2018, 2019, I think I asked about this back then in person at an event, and they're like, oh yeah, we're thinking about that. Finally, 2023, here we are, 5 years later. It has arrived.
Amazing.
Yeah. And,
amazing how long it takes.
In other news, I know, exactly. In other news, Google was asking employees to help train Bard by rewriting wrong answers.
All hands on deck.
In the last episode. Yeah, we talked about a little bit with Saj, I think, in the last episode, didn't we? think. Yeah, so, yeah, Saj was talking about that, wasn't he? No?
Maybe. I don't know.
Weren't we talking about that in the
No.
ChromeOS update?
Did we?
No?
I know you and I talked about it in the last episode we did, but I don't remember
No,
if it
you
came
know
up at the live
what?
event.
You know what? I was listening. No, I was listening to Troy's podcast, Workspace, after work. Sorry, I honestly had to think about that for a second because I was talking to our listener today about the podcast and the name of it and how we kind of, gave a little hard time to Troy about the naming and like getting it wrong and how I played on the name last time. So yeah, I had to think about that for a second. So Workspace after work with Troy Edwards was talking about it in one of the episodes that he did with the Googler. I think it was episode 3, where he was talking about how Bard was working internally. And so, yeah, if you're interested in Bard and how that's working, go listen to episode 3, I believe, of Troy's podcast.
Which side is it?
Because he talks a
I'll
little
put
bit
it
about
over
that. Yeah, I was talking about that's where I heard it from. That's where I heard it. Next up on the update, so Google Chrome's latest version includes tools to address its memory hog problem, and
which we've discussed before, but now it launched.
We have, yeah. I'm just kind of seeing that popping up though in all of my Chrome profiles, because every Chrome profile is separate. It's all defined differently. So I'm like getting that pop up everywhere and like, hey, do you want to manage Chrome memory better? Yes. Okay. Yes. So it's happening in all my profiles. I turned it off though for today because I just in this profile because I wanted to make sure that all of my tabs are loaded and in memory and working for this episode as I go through them. So disable that. And then finally, Google returns to the Munich Security Conference. So I know a few people out there in Germany, and hopefully this is an interesting addition to the Munich Security Conference. Maybe go check that out, find out when that is, and attend. So it'd be cool. So that's our agenda for today. First thing that we kind of talked about is going to be those Google Workspace pricing changes. And, pricing changes, not too much impact here, although it is changing for our international customers a bit. And then also for the customers that are on flex pricing. So if you are a customer that is, not US based and you're being billed in euros and pounds and Canadian dollars, something like that, keep an eye out for changes because the pricing will be adjusted a bit for you. And actually, I tried to access the link that you gave me. One thing that you have to be is the link that we're going to provide for you, the help article pricing change for Google Workspace. You have to be a Google Workspace administrator to visit that help article. So make sure you're signed in as an admin because it does not work as an incognito user or a non-Google Workspace admin, interestingly enough.
Whoops.
So keep that in mind. It's not a whoops, that's just how Google designed it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not an admin, you won't be able to see that. But so the local currency adjustments, they've already changed the article already because there used to be like 2 sections in there, and now there's just like 1. So it's evolving. Like check it out. I also had questions because it was unclear to me if customers that were in a commitment with Google or partner were going to see pricing increases because of the local currency pricing adjustment. Because if you look at the FAQ, it says, will my subscription price increase if I have a commitment plan, in quotes, outside of the local currency pricing adjustment listed above? So to me, the answer says, of course, if you're in contract with Google, pricing is not going to change. That makes sense. That's what it should be. Okay. But the way they phrase this question about outside of the local currency pricing adjustments listed above, to me means, well, it's going to change. The local currency adjustments are going to change for those non-US customers. That's what it means to me, that question, the answer, right? So, and then down below it says, what if I currently have a discount applied to my subscription? Will my price increase? And what it says is pricing adjustments are applicable to new and existing customers with one of these above product subscriptions after any applicable discount period ends. It says, note, if you have an existing term, these changes will not impact your current contract or any renewal event before April 11th. It doesn't clarify that local currency adjustments will not apply to your pricing, to your price at all. Not clear at all because of that first question. I don't know. What do you think about that, Jesse? I mean, is that first answer and caveat not clear to you also? I don't know.
Yeah, I've always had difficulty with their pricing, to be honest, as I'm sure many other people have as well. Mostly because it's just not listed very simply and straightforward, really, anywhere. And it occurs to me that maybe we should do a video on that, kind of a deep dive into. I mean, we have a wonderful spreadsheet, but I don't think it's ever been done in video or podcast form. So maybe a deep dive into kind of what gets you what and how all that works here. But no, I do agree with you.
We could
vague.
We could get the creator of that spreadsheet on, Brian Kim.
Yeah, the master, the data
or
man.
the primary maintainer. The main.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who at Google we could ask about this, but not sure.
Well, we can reach out to some people. We can figure something out.
Yeah,
I'm having struggles right now trying to get clarification on this article because no one seems to know the answer to it.
Well, as you mentioned, I think it's still evolving. Changes are still occurring here, and check back next week to see what new updates there are posted to the article.
Right. Yep, indeed. So currency adjustments, though, if you are not in the U.S., then all of your pricing will change. There will be some updates there. Again, if you're in contract, it may or may not change, but some substantial pricing changes in terms of local currencies. Depending on where you're at. It's a whole list of different countries are going to have some adjustments. I think, from the major markets, Euro's going to change 11%. An adjustment there, 11%. British pounds changing 9%. And then, some of the other markets are going to be Brazil, Denmark, India, Mexico, New Zealand, Poland, Sweden, and Thailand. So have a look there on the article of what your changes are going to be in your local currencies. Again, work with your, partner if you have a partner in that country because, maybe they didn't set up your billing in, U.S. dollars. Maybe you're getting billed in U.S. dollars even though you're in Brazil, for example. So that can happen if you're with a partner. So you can kind of have some nuances to your pricing depending upon how you're contracted there with Google. And as the article says, enterprise standard pricing will change. It'll adjust from $20 to $23 in the U.S., and that will be, for in contract customers. If we look at all the flex pricing, things are going to change, pretty substantially there. I think substantially. It's a little bit of a jump. And I think this, if we look back on the G Suite days, this is what it used to be, right? I think there was always a discount if you went in contract and committed versus flex. And I think as things transitioned from G Suite to Workspace, there was kind of price parity between those flex and commit pricing, right? So there wasn't really any incentive to be in contract. It was just more of, not from a list price perspective. The incentive was that you could get a discount by committing and reduce that list price. So this makes it a little bit more clear on, what those discounts are. And I think it's also the timeline of probably Google getting to, trying to get more of their even committed customers into a fixed price, right? It is, it's been a couple of years. Customers are probably coming to the end of their, contracted discounted price. And I'd imagine that, a lot of the customers, when their renewal comes up, it's going to be like, well, yep, your committed price now is going to be, this is it. This is the listed, the list commit price. And you can commit for 1 year. And that's your price. Maybe, there might be a little incentive to commit for 3 years and get a smaller discount on top of that commit price. But that's kind of what I'm seeing is, this announcement is coming. So, business starter flex pricing is going to be $7.20 cents versus 6 on the commit. Business Standard 14.40 versus 12 on commit. Business Plus 21.60 versus 18 on commit. And then you have Enterprise, like there's a couple nuances. There's like Enterprise Essentials and Starter, which I don't think really anyone has. But Enterprise Standard 27.60 on Flex versus 23 on commit, previously 20, as we know. And then Enterprise Plus 36 on Flex and versus 30 on commit. So those are probably some of the biggest changes there. There's of course frontline worker changes, and there's archive business user changes for those different SKUs. So $2, $3, $4, or $5 for some of those archive user licenses are going to be increasing to $240, $360, $480, and $6 respectively on that. So definitely worth a conversation with your partner or with Google if you are on Flex, and what these commitment opportunities are going to be for you. Jesse, I know sounds like you may have some thoughts on that. I don't know.
Just reiterating what I said earlier about the fact that even they say it here is that if you are on enterprise, you need to talk to your partner in order to get enterprise pricing. And I think that we should be able to put a video out that has that baseline, just so people know where to start. Think about planning. Like all the Microsoft subscription details are out there. They're complicated as all hell, but they're out there.
Right. Yeah. Enterprise Plus is still hidden behind a contact us, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think even in the article, it's not even mentioned, is it? Like Enterprise Plus.
That's what
pricing.
I'm saying. Yeah. If where did I see it? I was just reading it. Enterprise Edition and other Google Workspace product pricing is available through Google sales and resellers.
Right.
Yeah. That's annoying.
So
Stop it.
Yeah. Right.
So we'll have to dig into that and do a video on that. It should not be, behind a wall. We should be sharing information and all succeeding through sharing information
why is
instead
Plus
of
just hidden. Why is I don't get it. I don't understand why Plus's pricing is hidden. But
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to some Googlers about that and see how much they're going to hate us if we pull the curtain back here.
I mean, it's done now. It's out there. I just said it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to go more in depth.
It's
here,
out there.
so.
It's out. Yeah. It's out there everywhere though.
Yeah.
So that's the pricing updates. That's what's happening there with Google Workspace. In terms of silent releases here, let's move on. I think in terms of the updates, we saw that there's this 360-degree video background available for Google Meet on mobile. So you can add that to your mobile background. It just kind of means that the background moves with you as you move, I guess, is what's happening here.
It's gyro.
So, yeah. So kind of interesting. There's a beach and a temple background. These are the gyroscope. Dynamic experience. I don't know if that's good or not. I mean, I kind of like the stability of a background. I don't, if you have one on, I think it not moving around, doesn't detract from what you're actually doing, which is trying to talk to someone and get their attention. And I don't know, is this did Zoom do this? Is this why Google is doing this?
I don't know. Did Duo do it?
No, it's like, I don't know, maybe.
Is this a Duo feature that came to Meet, or something that they wanted to do?
I don't know. Again, like
I don't know. I think it's cute. I think it'll be a lot more stable than what we're seeing here in the GIF, because it keeps resetting or reloading itself. So I don't know. We'll have to play around with this when it goes on. But it's a cool idea. It's a cool feature.
Okay. Next one is that there's the ability to there's editable widgets now available for chat app cards. So this is something for developers that they can now include interactive widgets like checkboxes, radio buttons, and drop downs in chat app cards that are posted in the chat message stream. So it's going to allow you to quickly modify info from a chat apps. Something like changing the assignee on a task card or changing the due date on a task card. You can also select or deselect options on a card. So some of those features are going to come to certain Workspace customers those on Essentials, Starter, Standard, Business Plus. As of course, as I rattle these off, it basically looks like everyone is going to get this. So yeah, it's basically the full list of Workspace customers. They could just say available now to all Workspace customers. But you know what? It doesn't mention. It's interesting because they mention Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, right? But in the pricing announcements, you have Enterprise Essentials and Enterprise Starter. No one ever mentions Enterprise Starter. Like, what does Enterprise Starter get? They don't mention that in the updates. So,
gonna have to make a note to dig into that into the video.
Well, yes, we should. Yeah, speak to someone that handles like all of the Workspace SKUs and how they determine what gets assigned to which thing. Be interesting. All right, so next on our main updates for the week. First one is that new settings for content managers to modify shared drives is now going to be on by default. And on by default means it will be on by default for new shared drives that are created. It will not retroactively change your content manager's permissions on existing Google Drives, shared drives, yeah. So for that, let's say you wanted to go back and update those permissions, right? How would you do that? How would you do that, Jesse? Like, if you've got thousands of shared drives and content managers,
I think I might cry
update all that?
if I had to do that manually. If I had to do that by hand, I might cry.
Yeah, you might, right?
That's just
of course, there's
painful.
a Drive API for that. There's a Drive API for that, and as most of you know, there's this little tool called GAM out there, right, to be able to make these changes. What's interesting is that GAM has been mentioned, I think, in more and more help articles and support articles over the last couple of years, and it's referred to in this one. But the very interesting thing is that in this instance, the GAM command line tool link is linking to Ross's version of GAM Advanced XTD3, and not Jay's version of GAM. And very interesting to see that in this article.
Fight.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I don't know. I wonder if Jay's version of GAM doesn't support the shared drive,
the API
settings, shared drive settings. I wonder, maybe not, because that's the advantage of having the advanced GAM, is that you get additional functionality, additional features, and you choose which one you want to have. You want to have the Jay's GAM standard version or Ross's advanced version, and pick and choose. In this case here, though, the update references Ross's version, so check that out if you need to make some mass updates to your shared drives and content managers. And as I said, this will be the default, though, for any new shared drives that are created in your organization. So content managers will have this ability to start to do subfolder sharing and have this added capability in any new shared drives that are created. So that is a setting, it's a role permission setting. So there will be some additional toggles there in your options to manage those shared drive settings. So keep that in mind as you start to create new ones. And rollout for this one is going to be split between there's some shared drive settings here within the UI, rapid release, and actually, is it the same? I'm just looking at the details here. It actually is the same. So shared drive settings and the Drive API, both of these are going to start to roll out on the 13th of Feb for both rapid release and scheduled release domains on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for feature visibility. And this is going to be available to, I think, pretty much anyone that has access to shared drives. That's really how this is going to be addressed, because, of course, personal accounts don't have access to this, and business starter and frontline and legacy G Suite basic customers don't have access to shared drives. So obviously you're not going to see that feature available to those users. So moving on. Client-side encryption for Google Calendar is now going to be generally available, or it is generally available here as of last week. And this is kind of extending or continuing from the beta that was announced earlier for this functionality of client-side encryption. It is going to still not yet be available though for users on mobile devices. So if you need to have that on mobile devices, there is a beta now for that, kind of hinted, or not hinted, but subtly linked in the additional details section here of this announcement. So if you want to take advantage of the Google Calendar encryption, client-side encryption on mobile devices, if you are an Enterprise Plus or Education Plus or Education Standard customer, you can apply for that mobile beta, and we'll link to that. It's going to be available until the 3rd of March. So hopefully you can sign up for that before you are listening to this one, as we're recording here on the 21st of Feb. So have a look for that link in the show notes. And the features for this is going to be off by default. You're going to have to enable that as an admin, and then your end users are going to have to learn how to take advantage of those client-side encryption functionality. Rollout for that did start, as I said, on the 14th of Feb. It is going to be going out to both rapid release and scheduled release domains on a full rollout with 1 to 3 days for feature visibility. And those specific enterprise customers that have access to client-side encryption are going to see that, which is Enterprise Plus, Education Plus, and Education Standard customers. Next, the improved accessibility of the Connect device feature on Google Meet hardware devices. That is getting better. So the Series 1 devices like the Desk 27 and the Board 65 have a feature to connect a device button as a quick action.
Somebody say Desk 27?
Desk 27, look at that.
Just got it.
Yeah,
Just
what do you got there? What do you got there, Jesse?
That's the AvaCore Series 1 Desk 27 that I just got in, so I'm going to have to do a video playing around with
AvaCore?
that. AvaCore? I don't know.
AvaCore?
AvaCore. Fine. Yeah, it's heavy.
Right.
Sucker's huge.
Yeah.
Nice big camera on the top there. Beamforming microphones, speakers. The whole 9 yards, but figured I had that next to me, so I showed off when you said Series 1 Desk 27.
Of course.
Gotta love the new toys.
And yeah, this is just surfacing that ability to connect a device by USB-C, make it a little bit easier, more intuitive for users to be able to do that, to take advantage of that functionality. And this feature started to roll out on the 14th of Feb for both rapid release and scheduled release domains, on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for visibility on that one. And it's available to really everyone that has access to one of these devices. Next, Google Calendar and Assistant reminders are going to be migrating to Google Tasks soon. I like how they make the announcement, like, "Hey, soon we're going to do this." Just so you know, it's coming.
Stop threatening and do it.
Well, right. Well, not even that, but they're like as previously announced. So as previously announced, as announced now, as will be happening soon. So it's like, how many announcements do we need here?
It's called change management, and Google has a very long.
They don't do that for everything. They don't do that for everything. But
only Google Sites gets the longest,
yes.
and most updates.
Yes. What is? Yeah, I think you're right. That's one of the longest ones. But this one here was announced. They're referencing an article that was posted back September 20th, 2022. We now have another announcement talking about a future enhancement change that's coming. And if you are using Google Calendar Assistant reminders, going to be moving over to Google Tasks soon. So keep an eye out for that. Workspace customers are going to see this starting on the 22nd of May. So still a couple months out. And whether or not that comes on the 22nd of May, who knows? We shall see. But they will begin to automatically migrate tasks for users that have not already migrated. And there are some steps here for admins. What you need to do, you can can verify that task services is on for your org and enable the org to use Google Takeout in case you just want to export their assistant and calendar reminders, in case you don't enable that. So I don't know if you necessarily want to enable that takeout for everyone because it's a lot of info they can disable or export. I think you can control what information is exported by users now, right? So yeah, have a closer look at that. I think there is some customization of what can be exported by your users. So you may want to limit that to calendar reminders and assistance info.
This
and then also
this update went out as an email to administrators. It looks like I'm trying to determine if this came from like one of the groups that we're in. No, I think this is to everybody. A Google MSA product. Verify Google Tasks is on before the reminders migration starting on May 22nd, 2023. Yeah. So that just went out 45 minutes ago. Wow,
look at that. 45 minutes ago update.
Breaking news.
Yes, breaking news. Yeah.
Of the update that we were already covering.
I mean, yeah, look at that. If we hadn't delayed our start of this episode recording
it would have
by
been
an hour, we would not have had that. We wouldn't have had that.
There you go.
So there you go, folks. You've taken advantage. You've benefited from our procrastination and our smooshing of setting up an episode for an hour before we even started. But yeah, more details though. If you're an admin, if you're a Google account with work or school, and if you're using this as a personal account, jump into that article because there's some details there about all the dates around tasks, and what's going to happen. There's a lot of different dates there, like April 12th for some things here happening, June 22nd, March 6th. Go check that article out because you're going to see some different prompts and different days. So check that out. Should I mention that? Should I go into the details? I mean, that's where you're listening, right? I guess you want to hear it from us. So, all right, let me get into the details of that. So if you use a Google account for work or school, you're going to see a prompt in Assistant and Calendar to move reminders created in those apps to tasks beginning April 12th. If you want a copy of your reminders data and takeout is enabled for your organization, you can export your reminders data before June 22nd, 2023. Important info there. Next, if you use Google with a personal account, you'll see a prompt in Google Assistant and Calendar to move reminders created in those apps to tasks beginning March 6th, 2023. And again, if you haven't already migrated, Assistant Calendar reminders will begin to automatically migrate in Q2. There'll be some additional info on that timeline and future updates on the Google Workspace Updates blog. Interesting that there's going to be a Google Workspace Updates blog announcement on personal account changes. So, even if you're a personal account user, listen to our podcast. Let all your friends know they should be listening to the podcast because
that's right.
Personal updates happen also in the updates announcements. So there you go. Lots of rollout paces here. Again, the voluntary migration is on extended rollout beginning the 12th of April. For Google Workspace users, there's an automatic migration beginning the 22nd of May. An extended rollout, potentially longer than 15 days there for that. Users with personal Google accounts, there's going to be an extended rollout starting the 6th of March with a potentially longer than 15-day rollout for visibility on that one. And yeah, so this is a bit of a complicated one. So check that article out for clarity in case I wasn't clear enough for you. I think I'm still confused in what I just said, but hopefully you can read it better than I read it. So there you go. Next on the updates, we have the ability to edit contacts directly there, within these new little widgets and things that you have, and not force you over into the contacts.google.com page, and you can just kind of do that right there in the side panel. So it's great. Every time that I get a new contact and an email, and I know when I add them to my contacts, I was clicking that plus icon, and I wanted to go edit it and add some more information, update the email address to be work, and maybe modify the first name and last name, add their company. Well, now I can do all that in in the side pane here. So that functionality will definitely improve my day-to-day workflow, make it easier for me to make those adjustments and updates.
They're killing me with a GIF here, though. It's a 1024 by
is it a low res one?
557. It's tiny.
Make your
Sorry,
own.
folks, in
Make your own.
advance
Spend more
for
time.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know. I wish they were all high quality animations, Jesse.
Yeah, we really have to figure out, who does these screenshots and how.
Yeah.
I actually did redo the screen sharing, at least on our ChromeOS certification episode that I just published, because it didn't come through in the best quality, and I wanted, the video itself is in 4K, and I wanted to be able to have it, clear up on the big screen, because a lot of people I know watch our show on their TVs, actually. And so, if it was going to be fuzzy, then that would be more difficult. So that one I did manually do, but I don't think I'm going to do this one.
And one thing I didn't entirely realize, which I should have, because I should be watching our episodes. But as I was talking to our listener this morning, and they were saying, "Hey, I just listened to the podcast version." I was like, "Oh yeah, it'd be good if I did like a screen share of the announcements and like little details of what was actually." Happening as part of the changes." I forgot that Jesse was also adding in the animations, if one exists, to the updates. So
title cards,
lot of
graphics.
Additional effort. Yeah, a lot of additional effort being put in by Jesse to make these episodes even more, useful and beneficial for you. So if you are just listening to the audio,
contextual.
Yeah, if you're just listening to the audio, try to, I don't know, I guess you have to get like YouTube Premium to be able to watch it offline, right?
If you want it to be downloaded like that, sure, I suppose.
Yeah.
Do you?
Well, that's what happens.
I don't even know.
Some people are listening to it, when they're traveling on the tube and underground and other places where there's no internet connection. So it's an offline kind of experience, right? So that's really easy with podcasts, with auto download and all that stuff. So, with YouTube, you're going to want to have that, I guess, premium edition. Watch things offline.
I wonder if, with YouTube's focus on expanding into the podcast space, if they'll make that feature available specifically for episodes listed as podcasts. I noticed there's a new podcast section on YouTube now, so it could be interesting.
Is there like a distinction to say, "Hey, this video is a podcast"?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice to have that functionality for non-premium customers too, because really
YouTube team, if you're listening, you're going to have probably a lot more people come over and be interested in having their episodes auto-download for things they subscribe to, similar to normal podcast platform functionality. It's a great point.
Yeah.
So,
just got to find a way to, I guess, embed some ads in there, right?
That's the tough part, I suppose. Yeah.
So, all right.
Pre-downloaded ads.
Where are we at there? Updates here. When this is rolling out. So,
Content.
Yes. So, starting 17th of Feb, it is going to roll out to both rapid release and scheduled release domains for the contact card editability in the right side pane there. Yeah. Both of those are going to see that. And availability is going to be available to everyone as expected. Personal, Workspace, G Suite, the whole gamut. All right. Everybody, yes. And last update here. The ability to control the visibility of warning banners in Gmail with a new admin control is now available. Yes. So when those warnings, those yellow, I think yellow sometimes, they're gray sometimes, they're red sometimes. It doesn't specifically mention which warning banners are going to be editable here, I don't think. But there are some capabilities to bypass spam filters for messages from senders or domains in selected lists. And you can, create that list and define those where the message for senders is not going to be displayed. And this is just, one way to help control what your users see with these warning banners, maybe during a anti-phishing training campaign with your users, right? And it may give them a little bit more real-world experience. But to me, it's like, well, I guess there is. It's like, yeah. Do you
Why?
want
Like,
to
what
remove those? Like,
other than that? Why would you want to do that? Those are. I can hear the argument for shrinking them. They're enormous.
Yeah.
But
I do.
removing them
thinking back on
entirely.
situations. Well, okay. Here's the reason why. Right. I remember back when I enabled this feature, back in the early days of when this feature came out, this is, probably 4 or 5 years ago, right? One of my vendors, Ricoh, the printing company, right? The big, massive company, Ricoh, right? They did not have an SPF record. They didn't have anything. Like, they had nothing. So emails from all their employees was showing this warning banner, like, hey, this might be insecure because there's like no SPF records. There's nothing. There's nothing to validate, make sure that this email came from Ricoh, the vendor. Right. So it's like, well, all right, do we remove? So this gives you now the ability to say, all right, we're going to remove that warning banner if you are getting a lot of those emails from that vendor, like from that company, and they just haven't properly done their email security. You're going to remove that banner. But of course, what does that mean? Well, that means if I know that company hasn't done their email properly, I can try to impersonate and spoof them, right? So now all those warning banners from that company, like Ricoh, are going to come through without a warning banner.
You need it even more.
So it's like, okay, well, now the attackers know which domains to hit because it's going to be those domains that don't have those warning banners that you probably potentially allowed through to your employees without a warning banner. So it's just like, it's like you're, removing this one problem, but creating another one with this feature. So, be careful with this one, folks. Just be careful. Try not to implement it. Train your
unless
users
you're doing
to
an
recognize those
anti-phishing
warning
training.
banners. I guess I had this happen with a friend, and she messages me in the morning. She's like, I got this email that said my salary is getting decreased, by like 20%, and I should click on this link and do this stuff. And it looked legit. Like everyone in the company was complaining. Like hundreds of people were complaining. She's like, I forwarded it to my manager. I didn't click the link, but I thought it was legit. Like I didn't even think that it was like bad initially. So they're also on Microsoft. So, probably
Microsoft who had
spam filters. Anyways.
Microsoft who had an enormous spam problem this week.
Did they? Do you know that there was another article? I don't think we have it in our news article, but of course I don't know how. I think it's generally. I didn't download the whole report to see if it was like sponsored by anyone. Yeah. It was an insurance company that was doing an evaluation of all their customers and the likelihood of spam, phishing, malware attacks based on who your email provider was. And Google Workspace had like a drastic, decrease in potential attacks, like 40% or something like that, if you were a Google Workspace customer versus,
I think I saw that somewhere,
which is like horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to grab that.
The best percentages was when you were using a third-party mail protection service like Mimecast or Proofpoint. And that can sit on top of course, any cloud provider. But it was kind of like showing, how Exchange on-prem was like the most vulnerable, right? Cloud email providers in general, the next best, and then it was like Google Workspace, the next best one, and then the most protected one was the Mimecast customer. So some good
Google Workspace customers experience 40% fewer email security incidents than average. Yeah. That's the article.
Right. That was
Bay is the insurance provider for the digital age, apparently. They're the ones who released the report, which ranks today's most popular email security solutions and email solutions with the lowest to highest frequencies of cyber incidents related to email over a 4-year period. From across nearly 40,000 individual policyholders, the 2 email solutions that performed best in their category were Mimecast and Google Workspace.
There you go. Yeah. So we'll download the report for you, and we'll link to that in a Google Drive doc or a Google Drive link, so you don't have to enter your details in because it is gated behind like submitting your personal info. So we will provide that for you. free of
We'll
personal
sacrifice
information charge.
for you. We'll
Yes,
take
we
that
will.
sacrifice, that hit.
We will. Yep.
Be forever
So check
spammed
that
by
link out.
@bay.
Well, I'm gonna put it. I'll put it in the Workspace admins resources, and I'll make it viewable to anyone with links. So don't even have to sign up to our security email group to access it. You'll just get access to it. But speaking of which, if you do want access to all the content in Workspace admins, then I'll provide that link too, and you can join the group and get access to the whole shared drive.
There
If
you
you
go.
haven't come across that yet, you should join. We've got like 1,200 people signed up to that security group. It's crazy. It's like almost as many people as we have subscribed to the YouTube channel. It's actually
Pretty cool.
I think we have more in the groups than we do on the YouTube channel. Actually,
Yeah.
we've got close to like 1,500
That
people
makes
in the
sense.
groups, and 1.2, close to 1.2 on the YouTube channel.
Speaking of companies getting hacked, I saw also, I don't have a link for this, but GoDaddy just got nailed apparently over the last several years.
Oh, really?
It's been an ongoing.
Oh,
let me see if
wow.
I had sent it over to our SaaS Showdown
many.
hosts to talk about on their next episode. But GoDaddy hackers stole source code and customer details. And apparently it has been going on since 2020, and it's part of a multi-year campaign by a sophisticated threat actor group that, among other things, installed malware on the systems, obtained pieces of code related to some services within GoDaddy. And I find this
kind of not surprising. Not surprising, honestly.
It's really not.
Been...
It's really not. And the funny thing is, as I was thinking of that, reminding myself of that hack while you were talking, I also opened the article that I'm about to talk about, and whose ad shows up directly at the top of the page? None other than GoDaddy. So, here we are. Anyway, which leads me into our next section in the news.
Ooh,
apparently, Google. Go ahead.
Ooh, well, hold on. I think I missed one part to that update. I didn't mention when this is coming out to everyone. Yep.
Oops, sorry.
I didn't mention that.
Please hold.
So it's fine. So yeah, you can, in terms of the warning banners, you can turn that on and off at the domain level or the OU level, and then rollout pace for this one is starting the 17th of Feb on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for visibility for both wrap release and schedule release domains. It's available to all Workspace customers, but not available to legacy G Suite Basic and Business customers. Of course, not available to personal accounts either. And it's going to be in, I think, like you can create like a custom content spam setting is what it is. So you have to define that and then set an allow list of senders to bypass that. So there's the update. Over to you, Jesse, on the news.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Sorry, jumping the gun there.
That's all right.
Google's, we've talked a lot about Bard and ChatGPT and what's coming here. And, disappointingly, Google's What's Next for AI event didn't show much, really, at all. And we're still kind of guessing as to what Google has planned when it comes to its answer to ChatGPT and now the new Bing, which Microsoft came out swinging hard on with that one, with a very impressive demo. But here we are getting a little bit of details that start to leak out here. Is apparently Google's VP of Search has sent an email to employees earlier in the week asking for help in training Bard by correcting incorrect or bad responses. And I just want to know if they're like searching all of the Reddit and the Twitter posts that are talking about what people are searching on ChatGPT and are searching on the new Bing and basically feeding that into Bard just to make sure that they don't screw that up, because that would be really smart. Like, you should do that. Go and do that. As well as, all of the... it's Google. They know search. Come on. They've got the data. Use it.
Yeah. Is it using more recent information? Because I think we were talking about this earlier, where ChatGPT was using info up until like September of last year.
So ChatGPT 3 is trained on a model that ends in 21. ChatGPT 4, which is what the new Bing is using.
4 out now?
It's not out. It's what Bing is using. It's the more advanced version that is able to basically continuously crawl the web and go and get the answers that it doesn't know. And it looks like Google is probably also going in that direction or has that capability here. But what the document that they're the do's and don't document that requests with staffers interacting to help test its capacity says specifically that Bard learns best by example. So taking time to rewrite a response thoughtfully will go a long way in helping us improve the model. So Googlers that are working on this, we're going to get the AI responses that are going to be very heavily influenced, it seems, by the Googlers that are testing and playing around with this. So very interesting in terms of the conversation around biases and discrimination and things like that. I'm curious to see how it's learning and how it's being able to take those answers from people who are not technically, trained or on the team that is building this out internally, how it's making sure to keep everything on the up and up here. One of the things that they do add is that people should reply or rewrite in a polite, casual, and approachable while keeping it unopinionated and neutral tone and writing in first person. The document further says that responses should not stereotype and should avoid making presumptions based on race, nationality, gender, age, religion, sexual orientation, political ideology, location, or similar categories. Answers also shouldn't imply emotion or claim to have human-like experiences, which is exactly what the Bing chatbot was doing this past week, threatening people with violence if it was threatened with violence and so on and so forth. So interesting time to be alive when it comes to computing and the next, frontier, if you will. But I guess stay tuned because it's still very, very young in this game. Moving on is a Verge article. I chose the Verge article because I love the Verge, and as Steve was mentioning, it's showing up in all of his Chrome browser windows, and I've seen 100 articles about this. But Google Chrome's latest version includes tools to address the memory hog problem, and we talked about this, I forget, a couple episodes ago when it was talked about that it was going to be coming out. It is now available in Chrome 110, but it is essentially very similar to what you may remember of our everyone's favorite extension that was sold and then loaded up with malware, which was wow, now I'm totally blanking on the name. The Great Suspender. Now this is called Memory Saver, and essentially it snoozes Chrome tabs that aren't currently in use.
Have some suspenders.
There you go.
Like more some suspenders here now. For
yeah.
Next time. It's better planning for the.
There you go. So Memory Saver mode essentially snoozes Chrome tabs that aren't currently in use to free up RAM for more intensive tasks and create a smoother browsing experience. Sound familiar? It's exactly what the Great Suspender did. So don't worry if you're a tab hoarder. The inactive tabs are still visible and can be reloaded at any time. Pick up where you left off. And I am curious if they implemented some of the more advanced features of the Great Suspender, such as if it's a site that you don't want to. Like, could you allow list certain sites and say never suspend this, like my Gmail tab? Or hey, if I'm filling out a form and I'm walking away and I forget and it goes to suspend that, will it save the form data that I haven't yet submitted? Such as what happened to Steve just a moment ago when he closed an entire tab or an entire browser with a field full of information that was now not saved. So if you had the Great Suspender, maybe that wouldn't have been such a problem for you. So definitely going to have to look into this, and I look forward to it.
So I know the sites you can start to define. You can define those with the wildcards, like normally, like with the site URLs, like asterisk.google.com. A good question though with the form data. So let's say you enable this, right, and you have a Google form that you filled out, and that gets suspended, right? Does that data remain there? Is it that you typed in those fields?
Well, some Google Forms do that for you now with autosave, but if it's not one that you're logged in on or has that feature, then
right, but
I guess, a different form, not even a Google form, somebody else's form,
but like any kind of a field, right? Some sort of content entry field, right, on some site. Yeah, does that get preserved? That's the big question, right?
Exactly. So. And then the other one is also Energy Saver. Similarly, limits any unnecessary background website activity, such as visual effects like smooth scrolling on animations or videos, and you can choose to have it kick in when a device running Chrome is reduced to 20% battery, or from the moment you unplug from a power source. And Google hasn't mentioned how much juice the feature might save. I guess that depends on how many of said tabs you have open that have those things running in the background that it is now saving you from. But anyway, two very awesome things. Just make sure your Chrome is updated, and you should be able to access them. All right, and then the last piece that I have here is the Munich Security Conference. Google has returned, and Steve, you mentioned before that people could attend, but it has happened already, so unless they are time travelers, that's going to be a little difficult to achieve. Some of the interesting things that I noted from this article, which you can go and read about on the keyword of some of the the reports that they've done and whatnot with the Google Threat Analysis Group, as well as Mandiant, which is now part of Google Cloud, and Google's Trust and Safety talks about the cyber attacks by Russian-backed actors designed to disrupt and destroy, to spy, and to lie. And it goes into detail about Google's contributions towards the Ukraine conflict, war, really, and the defense that they have deployed against a tremendous amount of Russian affiliated channels and things like that. Some other highlights here is that Google has donated 50,000 Workspace licenses, which extended the zero trust security model to the Ukrainian government and public institutions. Google's Project Shield protects close to 200 Ukrainian government and embassy websites from DDoS attacks, which is very important. And their ongoing partnership includes compromise assessments, incident response services, shared cyber threat intelligence, and security transformation. So a lot of work going in there to help protect against what is a hacking superpower in Russia and Russia's teams throughout. It's relatively known that in the security circles, at least, that there's a lot of hacking groups in Russia, and historically Russia has allowed that as long as they didn't hack Russian citizens, and so that's why there are so many of them that are there. And defending against that, especially when they're activated to help out in a offensive like this, is certainly no small task. So if you're curious about the more details on that, go and check this out. We'll have the link in the show notes. And that's all that I have. We will link to the pricing changes, as we mentioned before, and I do think that I have to get to work writing a video delving deeper into all of the pricing changes that are coming in Workspace, as we talked about before, as well as just what's available for pricing and all of the different licenses and the differences. And I think that's going to be a little bit of a beast, but definitely something that would be of tremendous value updated for 2023. So that's our show. And if you haven't already, go and check out our ChromeOS certification, ChromeOS Administrator certification video, which I will put over here. And go and watch that over on our YouTube channel, and like and subscribe, all that jazz. As we mentioned, we're trying to get up into the YouTube Partner Program, and we need to get our followers up in order to do that. So we appreciate all of you. Love that you're regular listeners here. And if you're not, hopefully you will become a regular listener. And with that, we'll see you next week on Workspace Recap.